Snow fell in quiet whispers that night, blanketing the sleepy town of Pinebrook in silver and white. The world outside was still, except for the faint glow of Christmas lights twinkling through frosted windows, and the distant hum of laughter from homes filled with warmth. Inside her car, parked on the side of Maplewood Lane, Claire Dawson sat gripping the steering wheel, watching her breath cloud the air in front of her. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not because of a dare. Claire had always thought holiday romance movies were ridiculous. People finding love in a snowstorm, strangers falling for each other under mistletoe, chance meetings turning into lifelong stories. She used to roll her eyes at all of it. Love in her mind was something for other people. People who hadn't lost, who hadn't been betrayed, who still believed in happy endings. But tonight something had pushed her out into the cold. It wasn't belief. It was pride, mixed with the lingering echo of her best friend's voice saying, "Come on, Claire, what's the worst that could happen? You might actually smile for once. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the magic that still exists in broken hearts, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this story might just remind you why hope is worth holding on to." Claire had been a marketing executive in Seattle, a job she'd built her life around after her fiancé, Mark, walked out on her 2 Christmases ago. He'd said he wasn't ready, that life with her was too predictable. Since then, Christmas had become something she endured rather than celebrated. Every jingle bell felt like a mockery of what she'd lost. Her apartment was clean, cold, and quiet, like a showroom meant to be lived in by someone else. But this year, her coworkers had organized a holiday dare challenge. Each person had to draw a name and complete a random dare before Christmas. Claire had drawn Dare 11th, go on a blind date with the person your friends pick. She had laughed it off at first, rolling her eyes and saying, "I'll do it if I lose my mind." But as the days passed and her coworkers teased her relentlessly, something inside her whispered, maybe it's time to stop running from life. And so, here she was, 20 minutes outside the city, parked in front of a small snow-covered cabin that looked like it had leapt straight out of a Hallmark movie. The man's name was Ethan Cole, her friend had said, a small-town carpenter who occasionally volunteered at the local shelter. Claire had almost refused when she heard he lived off the beaten path. But something about that description, about someone who worked with his hands, who built things instead of destroying them, had stirred an old ache in her chest. She stepped out of the car, the cold instantly biting at her cheeks. Snow crunched beneath her boots as she walked up the path, clutching her coat tighter around her. The porch light flickered, casting a golden glow on the wreath that hung crookedly on the door. For a moment she hesitated. Her reflection in the glass looked uncertain, her eyes weary but hopeful in a way that scared her. She raised her hand to knock, just as the door opened. Ethan stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a dark green sweater and jeans, his hair dusted with snow. His expression shifted from surprise to warmth as he smiled slightly. "You must be Claire," he said, his voice low and calm. Behind him a small fire burned in a stone fireplace, and the scent of pine and cinnamon filled the air. Claire nodded, her heart thudding harder than she expected. Inside, the cabin felt like a world untouched by chaos. A Christmas tree sparkled in the corner, ornaments reflecting the flicker of the fire. A little girl, Ethan's niece, he explained, was sitting by the hearth, playing with a stuffed reindeer. Her laughter, soft and genuine, reminded Claire of everything she thought she'd forgotten about joy. They spent the first hour talking about nothing and everything, about work, small-town life, the snowstorm rolling in. Ethan wasn't like anyone Claire had ever dated. He didn't fill the silence with empty chatter, he let it breathe, comfortable in it. When he listened, he really listened, and when he laughed, it was the kind of laugh that reached his eyes. As the night deepened, the snow outside thickened into a curtain of white, and the power flickered. Claire offered to leave, but Ethan shook his head gently. "You'd never make it down the hill," he said, lighting a lantern. "Looks like you're stuck with me for a while." Something about the way he said it, casual but kind, made her chest tighten. For once, she didn't feel trapped. She felt safe. They moved closer to the fire, wrapped in its glow, the world outside disappearing into darkness. Ethan told her about losing his brother 3 years ago, and how his niece, Lily, had been the only reason he kept going. I used to think love was something that made you weak, he admitted quietly. Now I know it's what gives you the strength to rebuild. His words sank deep into her heart. Claire had spent so long building walls, convincing herself that she didn't need anyone, that needing someone meant being vulnerable again. But as she watched the firelight dance across Ethan's face, she realized how lonely that armor had made her. Hours passed, and laughter replaced awkwardness. At one point, Lily had fallen asleep on the rug, the reindeer still clutched in her hand. Ethan had gently lifted her and carried her to the small bedroom down the hall. When he returned, he found Claire standing at the doorway, watching the snow swirl outside. "It's beautiful," she whispered. He nodded, stepping beside her. "Yeah, nights like this make you believe in something bigger, don't they?" Claire glanced up at him, their eyes meeting in the reflection of the glass. For a long moment, neither of them looked away. The warmth between them wasn't forced or cinematic. It was quiet, real, and healing in ways she hadn't expected. The fire burned low, and they sat together on the floor, talking until dawn brushed soft light across the windows. Claire had forgotten what it felt like to lose track of time because it was filled with something that mattered. When she finally stood to leave, the storm had passed, leaving a world washed clean and glittering under the pale morning sun. As she reached for the doorknob, Ethan handed her a small wooden ornament shaped like a heart. "Consider it a souvenir," he said with a smile. "Proof that you survived your Christmas dare." She laughed softly, running her thumb over the smooth wood. "It feels like more than that," she said. He nodded. "Maybe it's a beginning." Driving back to the city, Claire felt something stir inside her, a quiet warmth she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't just about Ethan. It was about realizing that maybe love wasn't a fantasy after all. Maybe it was something fragile and rare, waiting for those brave enough to open their hearts again. The days that followed blurred together, but that Christmas Eve stayed with her. She hung the wooden heart on her tree, and every time she looked at it, she remembered the snow, the laughter, and the man who reminded her that even broken hearts can find their way home. A week later, as New Year's Eve fireworks bloomed across the sky, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Still believe holiday romances are ridiculous?" Claire smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "Maybe not anymore," she typed back. And in that moment, surrounded by light, hope, and the echoes of laughter, she knew that some dares weren't meant to be won or lost. They were meant to bring you exactly where your heart needed to be. If this story touched your heart or reminded you that love can find us even in the coldest seasons, please like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel keep spreading warmth and hope. Special request, comment below, do you believe in second chances and holiday miracles? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because sometimes all it takes is one snowy night, one unexpected dare, and one open door to change everything you thought you knew about love.